Who else would have been working with talent? I mean, I know you're fresh, so you're sort of, I think you've laid out on the show in the past, you were really doing a little bit of everything. You weren't necessarily doing only this or only that. So you're all over the place. Anyway, who would have been working with talent? Would it have just been agents at the shows? And who do you think that cast and crew may have looked like in 1987?
Yeah, it was the agents, Chief Jay Strongbows, Tony Gurrias, Pat Patterson, Monsoon, guys like that would work with talent on a weekly basis and or at the house shows. So the agents that were in the house shows were able to work with them every night and Pat at TV. But it was more at that time that we would put guys on house shows to go out and see how the audience is reacting to them before you'd ever get on television. And then get a feel for what they do, what they are, and ideas as to what to do with them from there. They'd make every TV and work from there.
Talk me through what sort of transition you think a wrestler would need to make in order to be ready for the prime time in the WWF, really at the height of the golden era. Here in the shadow of WrestleMania 3, there's more people watching WWF programming than ever before. Your network, your syndicated network, continues to grow by leaps and bounds. You've got primetime specials. You've got late night specials. You've got a lot of really great stuff on the horizon, not just on cable, but on broadcast television. And now you're taking these talent, and this one in particular, he's 2 years in the business, less than that. And now he's going to be a part of this roster. And sure, he may have some of the quote unquote moves down, and he might understand basic match structure. He learned all that in wrestling school and through doing matches across the country and even in Japan. But now he's got to really turn the volume up and be a personality that's larger than life. And he's a relatively young man here. What did that process look like? Because it feels a little overwhelming when you put it in context like that.
I think it probably was overwhelming for Bam Bam. He had been used to kind of being out on his own, and really his only mentor being Larry Sharp, who I think that Larry probably fed into his head. Don't trust anybody. Just more than anything, an attitude of distrust. I think with all promoters and anybody in the business that wasn't Larry. So I think Bam Bam kind of had that in his head without any validation to it. I don't know that I don't think Scott had been in the business that long to have that kind of a feeling or to feel that way, exclusive to his own endeavors. So, Bam Bam coming in, it was a pretty raw lump of clay that you could mold with some decent foundation and some pretty good skills.
We've heard over the years that, the WWF is the land of the giants, and that Vince has an affinity for larger than life characters. And we've even heard an explanation, what do they look like in an airport? Do they turn heads in an airport? Is everyone, wrestling fan or not, paying attention to that person? And that could be based on size or star value or natural charisma, whatever. They have some sort of magnetism about that. Did Vince see that in Bam Bam? And would he have seen it without the head tat?
I don't know if he would have seen it without the head tattoo, and I don't know that Bam Bam would have had the same swagger without the head tattoo.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think that it all kind of came together in a neat package, and the tattoo probably gave Bam Bam some of that swagger and some of that strut that he had naturally.
It is interesting to go back and think about what if. I mean, in this era, we should also mention, you've told us before that you guys were really looking for, it's a babyface territory. So there's a lot of other territories in the country that they wanted to have a heel champion and all the baby faces chase. Vince and even his father preferred a babyface champion taking on all comers, a guy like Bruno Sammartino, and now it's Hulk Hogan's turn. When you see a guy like Bam Bam Bigelow at his height, his weight, and his agility, but then, as if that isn't enough, the crazy head tat, do you just think, oh man, We sharpen that guy up and he'll be perfect for Hogan on a Saturday night's main event or whatever. You're looking primarily for not necessarily your next Hogan, but who can Hogan's next opponent be? Is that fair to say?
It is, but in Bam Bam in particular, we were looking at, holy shit, what an attraction he can be.
So did you think he could have been a babyface? Oh, well, you didn't see him. Okay. All right.
Yeah, didn't see him as a heel. Saw him as a huge babyface.
Wow. Okay. Well, a storyline begins on July 20th on Primetime Wrestling, where Bobby Heenan is doing commentary, and he claims to have signed Bam Bam. And then Jimmy Hart, in an insert during a Honky Tonk Man match, claims to have signed Bam Bam. And then Mr. Fuji, during a demolition match the next week, we would see he's signed Bam Bam. And then Johnny V does the same routine during an Islanders match. And in fact, Slick does one.
They must have been reading the dirt sheets.
It's a nice storyline, Bruce, if you could just behave for a little bit.
Why?
It's a nice way to say, hey, all the heels want to manage this guy. And that just really lays out really a different time in wrestling. It felt like every major heel or hell minor heel, they all had heel managers in this era. And that was also something that harkened back to Vince's dad, did it not?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, in order to, give mouthpieces and to know exactly what side of the fence they stood on.
Do you prefer Johnny V, Slick, Mr. Fuji, Jimmy Hart? Who was your favorite manager from that era?
Oh, God.
Besides Bobby. Come on.
Bobby's the only one.
Yeah.
It goes Bobby to Jimmy Hart and drops off after that.
Was the inspiration for this whole manager thing, was that taken from the Randy Savage Miss Elizabeth debut? Because we saw a lot of people vying for his services in 1986, and it wound up being the debut of Miss Elizabeth. Is that sort of, hey, this is the updated version of that?
I think it was, it was definitely similar and along the same path. It was a way just to garner interest in him before he ever debuted.
So it's going to narrow down on August 29th. All the managers have been ruled out except for one, Slick. And it's announced the next week that Slick and Bam Bam are going to make their first appearance together, but it's a swerve, bro. Bammer turns down Slick, and it's Sir Oliver Humperdinck named as Bammer's manager. And now he's a babyface, and he's going to go on to defeat Nikolai Volkov. Was this always the plan? Tease that he's a heel and then stiff arm him, make him a babyface? And why was Humperdinck the right guy for that?
We were looking for, Bam Bam's promo skills were not that good. They definitely didn't match his look. And trying to find someone who could talk for him and again, add a little bit more color to Bam Bam Bigelow. And Hump had been somebody that had, inquired, wanted to come in and do some different stuff, but it was new, and Bam Bam was new. We were looking for something fresh and new, and Hump had never been a babyface, I don't think, in his entire career either. But it was just something different, and it was giving a babyface a manager and bring Humperdinck in as a brand new face. So you got a new face and a new manager and a whole new life.
You got any good Humperdinck stories? It feels like that guy's a real character. Oof. I mean, he looks like a walking, talking gimmick and a half.
Well,
road trips.
I don't know if there's any I can repeat.
Come on.